Alright, how to make manga. So first of all, let's start with the three. Well, this is my classification of manga. So this may differ from what you think of, but we'll start with three different types. First type, we have amateur. This is basic manga, like this is the stuff that you probably start with. Just start with an A4 paper. Maybe you don't even draw guidelines properly, just draw it however you want. And you're probably going to start with this. This is basic, probably not an A4. You're probably not going to do this one with like professional materials or anything. Second type, I think, is experienced. This means you understand the whole process. You know what to use. You don't have to use it, but and also amateur. Also, you probably don't use ink. Okay, and experienced, you do use ink usually, I guess. I mean, it's up to you. But experience is more of a black and white solid, right to left experience. It's like it's more serious, but it doesn't have that finished touch yet. And then 3 is professional. So professional's the standard, how you properly make manuscripts. It is B4, done usually with nib pens, and it's all physical manga. Digital manga is completely separate. I've never done digital manga, don't have a digital tablet, so none of that counts. So this is B4, you do it with like nib pens, like this thing, G pen. You use stuff like this. You use paper like this, B4 sized. Professional grade stuff. Although it doesn't quite mean you're a professional. This is simply the methodology. Again, the quality of a work will be determined by your own skill. And so professional work is like the highest quality. Like it'll be something, I'm not saying I'm a professional, but it'll look something similar to like some of these. If I can just get a finished page. Most of these are like half done. Something like this one. Like this is like what a professional page looks like. It's quite big. The whole B4. Like if you compare it like side by, I'm not gonna bother. B4 is a little bit larger than A4. Not a whole lot larger, but if you draw, you'll be able to tell the difference in sizes. So that's the basic things. So how do you make a manga? Well, first of all, you're probably going to start with the basics. You're going to need a story, characters. You probably want to work on a setting too. This usually comes under story, I guess, but I feel like a setting is very important. You don't want to have a, like deep half, like, not really a good setting, because that spoils it, even if you have a good story. It has to, like, all these factors have to work together. That's what forms a good manga. And of course, you probably want to have some good art. All of these things combined create a good manga. So you can start with like working on your story, writing down in your notebooks in your free times, do character sketches, maybe just like brainstorm for settings and practice drawing. But now you probably want to know the process. So you know the basics, you have like an idea of how you want to do it, but then you have to know the process. So the process it's multiple steps. It's not the same for everyone. For me, it's nothing much. I take a B4 sheet of paper, and then I start sketching out with pencils. First I draw the guidelines based on my storyboard, which in this case actually storyboards come first. Storyboards are basically rough, quick drawings. If you read Bakuman, you'll be able to see them. It's a good manga for that. Like, this is literally how a storyboard would look like. Except you'd probably want to write down all the text properly, but this is literally what a storyboard would look like. Something like this. very simple. You don't want to draw it out. I would recommend not trying to draw it out because it spoils the actual experience of drawing the final manuscript. I did that, which was a big mistake. So don't put too much detail into your storyboard. Otherwise, you make the process of actually doing the final manuscript really boring. So yeah, just keep it simple. So to the main process. First, I would draw the guidelines, which in this page would be these lines over here. The lines here, these are all guidelines. Now this is a very the page doesn't have much guidelines. This page over here, I've already inked the guidelines in, as you can see. The whole guidelines. So once you've drawn the guidelines, then you sketch out the rest of the page. You probably want to figure out speech bubble placement beforehand. So I'd recommend drawing speech bubbles like first, and then working around them, moving them around, like you have speech bubbles here and here. This part over here does not have speech bubbles, but it has sound effects. Sound effects I tend to do in the end, since usually they go over everything, because that's sort of just like the way I've seen it being done. Then you sketch out characters and stuff. These two I didn't put much detail since it's not much to do. It's mainly just screen tone here, a bit of detailing. Usually I don't put much detail in things that are repeated since it's easier. Although I do have an exception for that, is the creature here, which is part of the story. Since I want to make sure it looks really good. It's like the main focus you want to put more art on, like more time on the art. Like the main focus in this page is eggs, but I did spend a lot of time on the outside, like sort of like the detailing here. Spent most of the time on the hand. If you actually look at these blood droplets, that are not very good. But I don't think that really matters if you have like good sort of like focus. Although that doesn't mean that the background can be like half done. You have to still put effort into everything. Alright, so now you've drawn the guidelines and sketch. So then you start inking. First I would start with the guidelines. Or sorry, not the guidelines, the border lines. I would leave space in these parts and I'd come and fill them later. You can always use whiteout, which is helpful, although I'd say save whiteout to the very end. Like, it's a bad habit of mine to use whiteout like preemptively, like when I make a small mistake with ink. You want to avoid that. I'd recommend using the leader whiteout. Very good. Easy to use the brush. Water soluble. Not much trouble. I use this ink for now. It's like really cheap, but it's actually pretty good. Although it does form a coat on the nib, so I have to keep on cleaning it, or I can't draw, which gets really annoying. So, anyways, so then you've inked out your border lines, like the. I should probably keep this stack handy. You've inked your border lines. Then you want to start working on these guidelines. Sorry, speech bubbles. I'm pointing out its camera. So you want to work on speech bubbles. All like over here. This one I'm yet to ink. I have to ink that. Usually we'll ink that and then you'll start inking with characters. I'll do blacking out later. So all this stuff turns black, but you usually do that in the end, like filling in blacks. So after you've inked the characters, usually you would do backgrounds, which I'm yet to do here. I've sketched out the backgrounds. I still have to ink these backgrounds all around here. So once you've inked backgrounds, then you would start the inking process of like filling in blacks. And filling in blacks is pretty quick. Just take a marker, fill it in. Here I've already done some blacks, like here, sort of like some shadowing because I messed up with the ink there. So shadowing, so inking is not that hard, or beta as they call it in Japanese. So that's the simplest thing, I guess. Although you do want to be careful when you do it to not go out of the line, otherwise it becomes troublesome. Once you're done that, you can go with like maybe a fine pen, maybe do detailing it. Usually I do detailing before I do any blackout, or I just go from panel to panel. I really just like mix up the whole order. And then the very end, this is when you would do whiteout. I'm back. Okay, what was I talking about? I think I was talking about whiteout. So you do whiteout, clean it up, do the ink process over, and then you add screen tones in the very end. Screen tones, if you don't know, are these things. This gray. They're like gray dotted textures. They're all this stuff. You see them a lot in manga. They're not very much used in some manuscripts, like mangas like Naruto. You don't see it much there. Fairy Tail, you usually just see like large portions of it. If I can find a sheet. Stuff. Yeah. This is like one sort of sheet. This is like flashes. Usually you don't need that. You just really just need this kind of stuff. Dotted tones. These dot tones. They're like stickers. You cut them. You can scrape them. You create textures. That's it. So that's the basic gist of like making manga. If you enjoyed the video, click like. I'd like some comments for like things I should do in the future, because I've just been doing speed arts. And yeah, any questions, ask. I'm still learning. Like you can clearly see from this art, it's nothing good. Oh well then, thanks for watching.